Good morning, everyone. It's morning in Tucson. I am Donna Reed. I traveled in Up With People 1976. Many of you already know that. I want you to please notice that I have a new cactus lounge picture behind me, which was sunset close by. So those of you who remember the desert and want to see cactus, and okay, I'm going to lean. Look at, there's a burro and a goat too, which I just think is a riot. So anyway, my visitor this morning is Seema Srivastava. And we just had a discussion about the fact that if I mispronounce her name, it's kind of all right because it's a proper noun. So if I screw it up, I screw it up. Seema is, as all of you that are listening will know, she's not an alumni that traveled, in the 70s or 80s or whatever. She is our new CEO of Up With People. And Seema, welcome. And thank you for agreeing to do this. So tell everybody where you are today. Where are you at?
I'm in Boston at home for a change.
Okay, Boston is home. That's good to know. I didn't even know where home was. So tell us and the listeners a little bit about how you even found out about Up With People or maybe were motivated to interview for this job.
Right. Thank you, Donna, for having me here. It's an interesting question that you're asking because actually I was thinking of or interviewing for a job and finalizing it. And I was almost saying yes. And the person who was interviewing me was from an organization called Deloitte. And she said, there is another person I know who is interviewing for a job called Up With People. And looking at you and how the things you've said, maybe you just want to take a look before you say yes to this.
That's
so
interesting.
I went on LinkedIn, I looked at the job, and I got intrigued because it sounded like something which was very much what I am passionate about: youth, travel, arts and culture, especially youth. And I was extremely excited. And I said, how come I've been in the nonprofit world for 28 years and not heard of this organization or ever seen of it? So I started dialing all my friends and family, and they said, no, we haven't heard of this. That was it. Now I had to apply and know more. So that was it. And I applied.
That's a riot. So if for no other reason, we're going to find out about this organization and we're going to make more people know. Well, I think that one of the things that I maybe mentioned to you the other day when we were just pre-visiting is that I was telling someone, so there's 22,900. Is that how many alumni you told me? Okay.
907.
907. I always say around 23,000. And for some universities, they graduate 5,000 or 8,000 or 10,000 a year. So globally, the fact that there's just under 23,000, this isn't that big, right? We're not that big. So tell everyone, I think that those who have maybe heard you or listened to a few things have a little bit of an idea of your background, but why don't you share a little bit about where you came from? You just mentioned the nonprofit world. What did that mean? And how do you think that feeds into the future of Up With People?
All right. I will start by just saying, when you say 22,907, we are still unique because I come from universities which do graduate 5,000 and 10,000 people a year. But we all don't stay connected, right? Because we will stay connected to your class or your batch at the most. And so that is unique about Up With People. My experience is parallelly very unique. I am from India, from New Delhi, northern part of India. I grew up in a very close-knit Indian family, very highly protected, studied masters in economics and statistics. Of course, I paint and I love to do art, and I danced and did all the right things that were supposed to be done by young girls at that time. Went to finishing school and learned how to walk with a book on my head and cross my legs correctly.
Wow.
Because my grandparents were from the British government culture, and so was my father. So that's how we grew up. But I always wanted to study more, but I got married at 23. And so I have a beautiful 27-year-old son. And after my master's in economics, I joined the management consultancy, and or let's say accidentally got into the nonprofit world because I had this young kid and I said, I want to be the best mother. So I started studying with the NCERT and a French institute, what it is to do micro teaching practices and educational components that are for better learning for young kids. And that
Wow.
was, after that, I never looked back because I started training young teachers. Then from there, I moved into the health sector with PATH, which is called Program for Appropriate Technology in Health. And I was heading the training for the Bill Gates project for vaccines for young children.
Wow.
It was beautiful. And then from there, I moved on to doing a lot of consulting work in different areas because once the bug bit me and the project ended, I wanted to explore what else is there. So I started doing education, civics, civil society work, work in health sector. And for about 8 months, I did that, and we moved to Africa. And
Mm.
there I was working very closely with the American embassy actually and UNICEF to do maternal health and education for children because I was absolutely appalled by the system that was existing in Lagos. Came
Wow.
back, and for about 10 years I headed globally something called the Global Education and Leadership Foundation. Um, that is was like my baby because we started, I got the logo done, the patent done, and from one employee we grew to global offices from 250 students, teachers, and 5,000 kids. We are now some 250,000 kids and 7,500 educators. So it's a sustained ethical leadership program, very passionate. And once again, so I play this balance of a mom and everybody knew that if my son called, I would drop everything and go. So that is just what I did when my son was going to apply for colleges and he wanted to be home. He was also a football, as in the football,
Soccer.
real football player. So he hurt his knee, and at that point when he was playing for the school and the state, so I went and I kind of wanted to stay back. Ended up doing 11 consultancies instead, from home.
Wow.
So a lot of work. And then I joined the UN and in democratic governance. And from there, I worked to build cultural competency and competency-based leadership in the governance practices. That was a very, very good experience working with very high-level executives, global universities, and challenges in people all over the world. Um, and that
Wow.
after that, I joined the Aspen Institute to head their leadership.
Wow.
Uh, and so all the programs, and whether it was which is now the Henry Crown Fellowship here, is called the Kamal Nayan Bajaj in India. What I haven't shared with you is that along somewhere when 11 years ago, I became a peace builder. And
Ah.
my peace building course with Ambassador Swanee Hunt's Inclusive Institute of Security. And that just the bug just bit me. I did my dissertation, helped me travel and work with a lot of Afghan, Libyan, Bosnian women from these
Wow.
areas to implement peace. And I now work very closely or advise very closely with an organization that works with young kids who to move across the line and give down weapons or ideas. And so I advise that organization in peace building. So leadership programs that empower youth to move away from terroristic practices.
Wow.
So that is
That's
what I do. And here I am.
that is that is long. Whenever anybody asks me, because I've been doing real estate for so long, what have you done? 18 years real estate, like, and that's a little bit of like therapy too, right? So I feel like, but that is fascinating. And this is the let's see, we met in Virginia, and then again here at Phil at Worcester's, and then I listened to the podcast or whatever it was called. I joined in that with the Up With People board. One of the things that I continue to hear from you, and it kind of makes me smile, is youth and how old youth is. Because to me, in my 60s, I call my 35-year-old a kid, you know? And so right now, there's a young man in the other room. He traveled in 2015, and he's 26. So to me, that's young. But you and Up With People are really focusing on the 18 to 24-year-old range. Am I right with that? Okay. And And it sounds like, based on what some of you just said, that this is just a super heart place for you about those are our future leaders and peacemakers and the kids that will create that. So that it's just always fascinating to hear again. And sometimes I feel like I need to listen to what you say like 10 times to get it. So Seema, how did your family and friends feel when you said, okay, I'm gonna do this now? Like, I've done this global thing, I've been with you, I've done all this. Now I'm gonna apply to Up With People, which none of you have ever heard of.
Mixed reactions. The first is, and that is what prompted me to change it, is some of them read the Wikipedia and called me up and said, oh, are you going to join a religious-based organization that and are you know, what the hell are you doing with your life after the UN and the World Bank and Aspen? And I looked at them and I was like, there is, you have to meet these people. I've been to Scottsdale. There is nothing drives them. There's so much equality. There is so much diversity. And you may not see it in always in the color of everybody there, but actually it is in the thought processes and the fact that they're so embracing and warm. And they're not hiring me because it's a band-aid that they want to put up there because of a color or a gender. They genuinely are looking at what I bring to the table, and they're not. So I tried telling my family, and it was obviously no, no. But then, and most of my friends, and the other thing was the model. So the model of fundraising, because I've given millions of dollars in World Bank and UNDP to governments and to organizations. So are you going to be able to go out and ask and beg? You know how it is from the other side of the spectrum. We look at people who are begging for money rather than giving money. So they were like, are you going to be able to do this? So it was that. But I do know that you said you have a 35-year-old son, minus 27. And he looked at me and said, he knows that I love challenges and I love experiences. So, and I love people. So he looked at me and he said, do you think you'll be happy? And I said, I think so. And he said, then go for it. And that was it. That sealed the deal for me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So part of, I'm thinking, I was with 6 of my cast members the other day. One person flying to Tucson arranges it. So I was thinking what you just said about the relationships and how that's a little different than a college graduating class or something like that. We talked about, several of us were there in Virginia. So we talked a little bit about what we've already seen, the growth, the progress that has been made since October when we were there. And I know that now there is a plan in place that is continuing to evolve and that Up With People is looking to relaunch in the 3rd quarter of this year. Do I have that correct? Okay. So for those who haven't listened to everything, I know this is way more than a 5-minute chat, but can you tell everybody kind of a little bit about what that is going to look like, cast size, locations, some things like that in a, less than hour kind of thing. What can you tell everybody who hasn't already heard?
Sure. There's so much happening. I'm breathless, and the team calls me, I work at the speed of light. So Voices is launching in 23 August by the end of the quarter. And we want to have a cast of 50. The cast is going to travel to Mexico and Latin America. So 4 cities in that area. We are working in a model of partnerships, which is nothing different than what it was earlier, except we are more structured and have tied in the relationship. So what we are doing is we call them global, regional, and local partners. A partner is someone who we identify as the core person who's going to give us office space, will appoint community ambassadors, who will then tie up with universities, nonprofits, and other organizations where the experiences for the young people are going to be. All these experiences, so that we don't have to send a huge staff to go tie up all these places, find places for host families, places for them to stay and eat, will be done by the partner and maybe 1 or 2 staff member only. So we kind of shifting the onus on the partner to help us more than do that. And that is an in-kind if you really calculate it, if you're starting getting community ambassadors, office space, a car for us to travel around, and getting university space, 2 meals a day, finding a couple of host families, you're already covering a lot of the cost
Right.
that we would have. So then also an auditorium for the show that we are going to do, an area for the festival that we will have with all the artwork and the other showcase that, and for the nonprofits that we are tying up to showcase their work. What is the tour going to look like in terms of what is the cultural experiences? How will the host families immerse? All of that is being planned out in the 12 weeks for that. So we've almost signed the MOUs for the 4 cities. With
MOU, tell me what that is.
Memorandum of Understanding. It's like
Thank
an
you.
agreement that we are signing. So with these, the reason we do that is so that we get their buy-in, by instead of just saying you give a check and then now the rest is all our job. So we are signing that, and there is a 12-week program. It starts with the 0 week is virtual, so that we have orientation to the city, orientation to the Up With People legacy and history. We would like young people to know what the legacy and the history is, and to appreciate what they're carrying on their shoulders in terms of the values of the organization when they carry, and our mission of building peace and spreading the message of dignity and hope. So keeping that, and then cultural sensitivity, orientation to the songbook, to archives, to meet some of our facilitators and our alum, all of that is going to happen. And then they travel for the 12 weeks to 3 to 4 cities. And at the end of it, when they come back, they again congregate because virtually, where we want to do a debrief and a feedback session. And then we also realized that if you look for funding, you have to show employability and sustainability. And I know these are words which are very new words, but it's actually just showing that we have economic mobility in 138 countries with our staff. So, and our alumni. So what does that mean? It means that if Seema picks up a bag and wants to go to any part of the world where our alum is, somebody will find a place to stay and help them out in any way. Economic mobility, right? So that's also a social resilience, because I don't feel lost in a new country, and that builds you cultural competency. And the second is we want to have the alum as mentors. So introducing the mentorship program, giving them opportunity to intern with us or with a partner. And so they become employable young adults. So that is what Voices is.
That's exciting. I as you speak, I always am thinking about, okay, yes, this is what we do. Yes, this is what we do. And how when I got sick in Europe in the summer and I had to, what's the word we always say, shift, that was like that. I called an alum in Belgium and said, hey, can I come stay with you for a few days? And I appreciate that piece of this. And likewise, I think that at some level, there is a trust that exists between all ages of who participated in this. It doesn't mean we're all the same by any means, right? But there is some level of, oh, this person did this and lived in homes and traveled, and sure, it'll be fine, at some level. So I appreciate that, and the sustainability piece of it. I think that's exciting. And I'm also glad to hear that you're still hoping excuse me, for the host family piece, because that is something that we know has been super important, and post-COVID wasn't real sure like what that would look like or how it would transpire. So how can we as alumni assist? How can, I always look and I say, okay, with these what do you call these podcasts, these videos that I'm doing, there's anywhere from 30 to 300 views, right? And we know that a lot of them are the same people, just like everything, right? There's those who participate regularly. How can we reach out and help Up With People find mentors, learn? What can we do?
I think alumni have a very, very critical role to play. The first I would start by saying is the committees in which, so I have 5 presidential committees, and for curriculum, for performance, for events, for global partnerships, and the Youth Council. I'm very excited to let you know that I have 2 alum and 2 non-alum who are the coordinators from 25 to 35 years old, and I have 18 young youth council members from all over the world. And
That's exciting.
a lot of alums kids also are there, or grandkids. The part is that when alum gets involved in the committees along with youth council and other global experts, we have a very holistic program because we bring the legacy and what existed and what worked and what is relevant, as well as what the future is looking for and what the young people think their voice, they can loan their voice to. So the committees become a ground where these three meet to be able to drive the work that I'm doing. I do not sit in a closed room and I take decisions. To let you know, like the curriculum is being created by an alum and someone from McKinsey and a third person. So these three young people work together. Then they talk to curriculum experts who could be alum and non-alum. So being on committees, offering to talk to our and helping out in the performance and the curriculum is one way to do it. The second is to offer us connections. Connections are of several types. So if you believe that in your region, I can bring voices, right? In 24, I'm already signing an MOU with India. And once again, so I'm looking at signing, if you think I can bring a voices to that region, please help me connect with somebody who can be the nodal agency or the nodal organization. And then we can start the dialogue on how they can then help us build with corporates or with universities partnerships so that they can travel to 3 to 4 cities. That is one type of whole role. The other role is some of the alumni are helping me do this tour across universities only for 10 or 12 kids. This way we can recruit as well as spread the message of Up With People. So we're creating this model where we only recruit for about 10 to 12 young people who can travel across 4 universities in a small region, stay in the universities, perform, do the dialogue, the moderated dialogue on our 5 outcomes, and with Up With People songs, and then move to the next university and come back. Recruiting happens as well as the message of Up With People spreads. The third kind of partnership is investing partners. So something that I keep saying is that the model is no different. We had donors and sponsors earlier, which Blanton used to go and get these big names, big so we are looking for the same thing. I'm looking for an investing partner. An investing partner, you can own voices. So what I mean to say is, suppose X company says, I'll give you 350,000, right? Then we can say, Up With People voices X tour to Mexico is gone. I can give you 50 young people who can spread the message of peace and positive youth development and be employable for your organization. That is one. And finally, we are launching the Voice for a Voice campaign in February, which is a pure alumni campaign. And I would really like that one of the things, if you remember in Virginia, a lot of people said, I may not have a lot of money, but I can give $10 a month or $1 a month. So we have a model which says, and I did this mathematical model, that for every $1 we Up With People converts it into $9 by the experience that we give. There's a 1 plus $1 of global experts, of youth, of the network that we have with the alumni, the experience we give. So the mathematical model says for every $1, we convert it to $9 value for you. Right. So if you give me one, so we've got this model where we're going to ask for $9, $18, $27, or whatever else. So if every caste or caste representative or caste, manager decides to say, okay, my caste is going to raise 3,000, 5,000, or 10,000, that is almost, $1 million for me, right? And next 5 tours of voices are on the road. Right?
That's awesome. Yes, because one of the things we talked about is that the tuition piece had become kind of overwhelming for even back when my son traveled in 2013. I mean, I remember calling him and saying, do you really want to do the second semester? Really? Because if not, don't just say, oh, I think so. Right?
25,000, right? For 12
weeks. It was just under 25,000. Yeah.
Ours is 5,000 for 12 weeks. And that too, if we can raise money and we can get sponsorships, then so that we can include more and more young people. One of the things we've told the global partner is from that region for underprivileged kids, if you want to bring 5 or 6 of them, then you pay or you'll find sponsors to bring them in. And
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited. And as an artist, also I sell enough paintings to buy more paint, Seema. So but I love that there's different kinds of art that are being incorporated into this. I love that that you are using and they are choosing some of the old Up With People songs to be reincarnated in a new format or new style, and yet that the kids are going to be allowed to, the students are going to be allowed to create some of their own and put together their own story, because that's the point. That's awesome. All right, so I think I told you that one of the people that helped me create this said we should have a rapid fire at the end of each one, and I had mentioned to you, is there anything that you have eaten in your life that you would never, ever, ever eat again? Or is there anything that you've not tried that you think would be super cool? Like somebody's told you, oh, you should have this?
Something that I've eaten by mistake is grasshopper, and I'll never eat it again. Fried
What?
grasshoppers, and I'll never eat them again. Never, 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 never. It was by mistake.
By mistake.
It was on a plate in Thailand, and this looked like all these crispy fried things that I thought was squid or something, and I ate it. And when I saw it, I was shivering. So I'll never eat that again. Right? Something that I have not tried, but people are trying to make me eat is quail eggs. Maybe someday I will try to eat a quail egg. But whenever I look at it, I feel so sad when I see the size of the egg that I'm not able to eat it. Like, which tiny baby am I eating? I don't want to eat it. So
That's funny. That's funny. And you've traveled a lot. You've been a lot of places. I think I was telling someone when we were in Sweden in 2015 that even though I'm Swedish, I had never had herring. I mean, my aunts and uncles and everybody else would eat it, but for me, it was kind of like I don't think I need that. And then I tasted it and I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. So bad. One of those things. All right. You and I talked just before we started recording about all the time zones. You need like the world clock. But is there a place that you haven't been that you would love to go, just with or without work? Any place in the world that you would really like to go?
Italy. I want to sit in the Colosseum and hear a classical music concert.
Ah,
My dream. I love classical music, and I have never been to Italy. I just want to go sit and hear the music. I love art, culture, history. I don't know what I did doing economics, but I just love.
Last night, I was with a group of people from Ohio who all live here. And one of them said that underneath the Coliseum is like being under the stadium at Ohio State. They said it sounds the same, it feels the same. And I'm like, well, but the Coliseum had lions and gladiators. So have you met yet Leonardo Guarnini?
No, I've not. He actually attended the European alumni when I addressed, and he was very, very positive, and he offered help. So I'm hoping that we can plan a tour to Italy and have take the kids there for
that would be
4 to 5 voices. So tour. I want that. I want to live that up with people time when you're planning. You've got 200 signed up and you're sending them to 4 regions. These ones are going to India. These are going to Europe. These are going to Mexico. And these are going to Japan. So
that they're going all over the place. That's awesome. Well, every time I talk with you, I think about maybe who I know, maybe who I don't know, or whatever. I don't know if you have had the chance to meet Karin Nyquist or her sister Eva in Sweden. They both traveled, and Karin and her father are both ecological architects. He passed away recently, but they know and have worked and met and designed in Bhutan. So when you message Bhutan, because they were all into architectural ecological architecture. Let me get the words right there. And so she just had a memory come up of posting with the Queen of Bhutan. So when you mentioned that, I'm like, there's just little things that come to you, that
Bhutan is pristinely beautiful. I've had the good fortune of working in Bhutan and training at the behest of the king. a lot. So a lot of the schools in young people at schools in the leadership program, also doing a cross-cultural exchange for those young people. And then I went with my family once again. It is just pristinely beautiful.
Yeah,
They
that's
have something
exciting.
called gross national happiness. Do you know that? They measure gross national happiness.
No, that's awesome. I think I had heard that. There, when you hear about who are the happiest people in the world, right? And then what makes them, what does that? That's fascinating. So, any last words of wisdom or hope or help or whatever that you would like to say to those that are going to listen to this, Seema?
I don't know if I can give words of wisdom. All I can say is that I can just thank you for this. I'm very, very excited to be part of Up With People. We have to make it succeed. We have a place in the world. We know that the power that Up With People has to bring change, to lend a voice has completely overtaken me as a person. And I know that is a message I want to give. So join me. Let's spread the message. Let's be positive, and let's be back with the tour.
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. All right. I'm going to end this. And then we have a couple minutes. I want to throw something at you and ask you a question. Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you so
Seema.
much.
I appreciate it. All right.